Good morning. Welcome to 10 General Biology EOT review. We'll be covering the topics the integumentary system, skeletal system, muscular system, and the nervous system. So let's begin with the integumentary system structure and functions. And as you all can see, it is page number 135, figure number 1, which is the integumentary system. Consists of three layers, which is called as the epidermis, the outermost layer, which is thin and contains epithelial tissues, and it has dermis layer, which is the thicker than epidermis, and it contains all of the structures like sebaceous gland, hair follicle, blood vessels, nerve endings, sensory receptors, sweat gland, which is important for our functioning of the integumentary system. And the last layer is subcutaneous layer, which includes the fat tissue, which has a role in maintaining your body warmth. So as you can see, maybe you are in exam, they will give the structure of the integumentary system, and you might have to find out which structure is what, and you have to label the structure or find out the indicated image, all of that. Next, as you can see, so next is functions of the integumentary system, which includes the vitamin D production, protection and synthesis, and the temperature regulations. So protection and synthesis, vitamin D production, the skin will, when it is getting exposed to the sunlight, our skin will undergo certain biochemical reactions which will lead to production of the vitamin D, and vitamin D is very important for the calcium absorption, which is important for your bone formation. So the next function is protection and synthesis. So the presence of keratin and melanin in your skin serves the protecting agent, as like the keratin will serve as a waterproofing agent in your skin and also protects the skin from the damages its structures, and melanin is a protecting agent against the harmful ultraviolet rays. The more melanin you have, the more darker the skin looks. And coming to the temperature regulation, so temperature is regulated by sweating and goosebumps. Like when it is hot, our body will sweat, and when it is in winter, a contraction of muscle cells lead to goosebumps, which is present in the dermis of human skin. Then you can see the goosebumps of cats. The cat appears larger, perhaps a way to scare off enemies. So this is also a mechanism for trapping air, which insulates and warms the mammal. So humans do not have as much hair as most of other mammals, but goosebumps are caused by same type of muscles that makes a cat's fur stand on end. So we also rely on fat in the subcutaneous layer instead of air to keep warm. So you can see some sample questions here regarding the structure of the integumentary system. You can see the question is given, which tissue type is responsible for goosebump formation. So here they have labeled it A, B, C, D. So you can see A is the muscle cells, which is responsible for our goosebumps. And then watch explains why a person's skin becomes darker when frequently exposed to sunlight, because exposure to sunlight causes melanin to be produced. So melanin, as much as melanin is present in your skin, that the more melanin you have, the more darker you look. So what structure produces oil, which is we all know, with sebaceous gland, and which layer of the skin continuously divided by mitosis to replace cells that are lost from the skin surface. So inner epidermal layer is the one which continuously multiplied by mitosis produces more cells so that it can replace the outer epidermal cells, which is probably always the dead cells. Then coming to the next part, which is some more questions, is how does the skin regulate body temperature and identify functions of the skin. As you all know, protection, sensory response, vitamin D formation, regulation of body temperature, excretion of waste, all of this belongs to the integumentary system functions. Then coming to the next slide, which is page number 140, figure number 6, that's the skeletal system. So we know that skeletal system is divided into axial skeleton and appendicular skeleton. So when you get the image, all you have to remember is when you see the part of the, it's not like it's sometimes the students feel difficulty to study exactly the name, and it is difficult for them to remember the names of each of the bone. So what I suggest is they have to at least know that this word and which bone is that. So if they can understand which bone is which, that's enough in the exam, because they just give the image and the options will be there. All they have to know that which one is which, and maybe they will ask with the parts of the bones, and they will ask what part is which is belong to, like axial skeleton or appendicular skeleton. So you can see the question will be like, which of this is not a function of the skeletal system? And you know the skeletal system has support, protection, make blood, storage, movement, all of the functions. And which is not of these functions, that is transmits nerve signals and produces actin. That's not a function of the skeletal system. Coming to some of the questions, as I discussed, here they have given which is the letter representing the ribs in the skeletal picture. So it's better you like each of the bones, then you know what is what and which part of the section it belongs to, whether it's axial skeleton or appendicular skeleton. So you can see in this image ribs is C. And another questions are like, which is not part of the axial skeleton, which is a part of the appendicular skeleton, like that. So sample questions, the mainly which bone is which, they have to know, and also which part of the bone it belongs to, like axial skeleton or appendicular skeleton. If you know about that, then you can solve this question easily. Next is muscular system, and page number 146, figure 10. That is 3 types of the muscle cells. They are smooth muscle, cardiac muscle, and skeletal muscle. In easy way to understand which is which is like cardiac muscle. If they have given the microscopic image, you can see that there is striation and there is branching. Like it is branching, and this is connected to the next layer of it. So if you see that is cardiac muscle, the branching will not be there in the skeletal muscle. So if there is no branching, that means that it is the skeletal muscles with striation. So if you do not find any kind of striation, that means it's probably the muscular system, smooth muscle. So you can see it is not striated, is the smooth muscle, cardiac muscles, striations, and with you have the branching, and the skeletal system which is attached to the skeleton, and you can see that it is attached to the skeleton and it has striations. Then these are some sample questions. Which muscle in the figure below are classified as voluntary muscle? So you know that voluntary muscles are the muscles which are skeletal muscles which you can control. So out of this, which one is skeletal muscles? You can say it is C. And here they are asking 3 types of muscles found in the muscular system. And another question is, with the efficient and rhythmic contractions, which muscle is arranged in a network which is efficient with the efficient and rhythmic contraction? So you know that it is cardiac. So what kind of muscles appear in this figure? So smooth muscles are mainly present in the hollow organs. So when you see hollow inside a structure, that is definitely for smooth muscles. So you have to select that. And cardiac is always related to heart. So any image coming and asking which muscle is it is built of, it's always cardiac. So you can see as next is figure 12 from page 148, that is the structure of the muscle. So when you can see that muscle is made with the muscle fibers, and the muscle fibers is made with the myofibril. Myofibril is again made with actin and myosin. So you need to know the sarcomere, which is the one contractile unit of the muscle. So the structure of the sarcomere is important. It consists of the Z line, M line, and A band and I band. So you can see I band is this one, which contain only actin. A band contain both actin and myosin, and I band contain only myosin. So you can see this thick part is the myosin one and the thin one is the actin filament. So all of this part you need to know which is which, because the question usually comes to label the A line, M line, I band and A band. So you need to know which one is which. And coming to the contractile unit, it has, you know, the sarcomere structure, actin and myosin. So when it is contracting, or without, when it started contracting, the myosin will go and bind with the actin. So you can see the myosin has a small head, and it will go and bind with the actin one, in the specific binding sites. So when it is in a response to a nerve signal, cross bridges are formed between myosin and actin. So this part is called cross bridges when it come, come to meet together. So ATP is used to change the position of the cross bridge, which causes the movement of actin filaments. Then when it is fully contracted, the sliding filament theory explains the muscle contract when actin filaments slide towards one another. So this is movement of contraction, and when the muscle is relaxed, it looks like this. When the muscle is contracted, it looks like this. This is what sliding filament theory is. Coming to some questions, as I discussed, where is the location of Z line in the figure below? That you can see this is the zigzag line, and the answer is B. And then another question is not true regarding sliding filament, and myosin filaments are slide together. Contractions are activated by nerve signals, actin filaments are slide together, myosin filaments remain still. So the answer is myosin filaments slide together. So this is antagonistic muscle pairs. So one muscle in pair relaxes as the other contracts, and it works in an opposite way. So that's about it. Then coming to the next slide, which is page 156, figure 1, which contains two questions. From it is the structure of the neuron. So you need to know which part is which. You need to know each structure of the part, like what is it named, and the dendrite, cell body, axon. This green color part is called the myelin sheath, and you have node in between it, so that this action potential can move faster by jumping towards it. And this can be a question. And another these are some of the sample questions. Which of the following letters receive signals in the below picture? So you can see, you know that the receiving signaling part is mainly by dendrite. So A is the dendrite, so you choose A. The next question is illustration of neural cells. Which part would you expect to find the nucleus and many of the other cell organelles? So it is in the cell body, so you know it is 4. Then which one is axon in the picture, and the next is, you can see, would you expect to find myelin, which structure, that is 2. So these kind of questions can be expected. Coming to the next slide, which is page 164, figure 10, you know the organization of the nervous system, that it is divided into CNS and PNS, the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. So the central nervous system, it is mainly consists of the brain and spinal cord and the interneurons in it. So the brain has structures like cerebrum, which looks like a walnut, and when you see the cerebellum, it looks like a tree which is turned sideways. And hypothalamus, you have brain stem which contains pons and medulla oblongata. Then you have spinal cord. So each part of it and what is the function of each part has to be remembered in the exam, because sometimes they ask and they point out in the image which part indicates what function. So you need to know each of the parts with its functions. Make sure you know it and do not confuse about it. So next we'll discuss about the functions of the cerebrum and the cerebellum and brainstem. So you can see the cerebrum is divided into two parts, which is the left and right hemispheres. Right will control the left part and left will control the right part, and it has the functions like memory, learning, language, speech, voluntary body movements, like how you move, you're walking, you're running, and whatever even movements which you can control is mainly controlled by cerebrum of the brain. Then coming to the cerebellum, the function is mainly balance and coordination and your posture. So cerebellum is the one which is responsible for your controlling of your balance and posture. Coming to the brainstem, it is divided into pons and the medulla oblongata. Medulla oblongata controls your heart rate and blood pressure, whereas pons are aids in the breathing part. And pons serves as a bridge to communicate between cerebrum and cerebellum. So you have 12 pairs of cranial nerves and spinal nerves, 31. Then coming to hypothalamus, hypothalamus is located between the brainstem and it is the master gland, and it is the link between the endocrine system and the nervous system. So it regulates the body temperature, thirst, appetite and water balance. And coming to next part, which is the spinal cord, which is the connection from the brain to the other parts of the body, and it is protected by the vertebral column and it processes mainly the reflexes. So when reflex action is happening, you know that brains are not when the reflex arc is happening, the brain is probably not involved, because that time the spinal cord is working. When you touch something hot, you will remove your hand without even thinking, because the brain is not involved in this process. These are some sample questions. What is the cause of loss of balance and decreased coordination of muscles for a person with a brain cancer? So you know the functions of which one is responsible for loss of balance, mainly the cerebellum. So because the cancer has damaged cerebellum, it would be the correct answer. Then spinal cord is a part of major division of the nervous system called which nervous system? So spinal cord belongs to the central nervous system, so you choose that one. Coming to next part, which is the same question. Okay, coming back to the senses. Okay, it is page number 168. You can expect 2 questions from it. So the functions of the senses and how it works. The working principle is mainly, it's the same, you know how it works, but only change happening in each of the sense organ is the name of the nervous receptors present in each of the sense organs. Other than that, the same working principle happens in each or every part of the sense organs. So for example, this is the smell. Smell, you take chemical signals and it will reach the olfactory receptors. So here the keyword is olfactory. So when you study each of the sense, you make note of the keyword which type of receptors are present in it. So if you know that, the rest of the to study rest of the sense organs and how it works is easy. So each of the keywords in each of the sense organs you have to remember. So here olfactory nerve receptor is the ear for the smell. So when the chemical signals go and give the signal to the olfactory receptors will receive the signal and it will transfer it into the olfactory bulb, which is, you can see the olfactory nerve is present in the olfactory bulb. Why olfactory nerve is there? To send signals to the brain. So this is the same principle. Receptors will receive it and it sends signals to the brain. So here olfactory nervous receptors are present and they will receive the signal, transfer it to the olfactory bulb which contains the olfactory nerve, and it will be transmitting the signal into the brain to figure out what smell it is. Then the same way the taste buds, the chemical signals will go and give the signals, and taste buds are here your the receptors. So the taste buds will be taking the signals and giving it to the brain. So here in the mouth, which is the taste, it is taste buds, whereas in smell, it is olfactory nervous receptors. So remember the keywords. Coming to the questions, which sensory receptors are found on the human tongue? So you know that it is taste buds. Then you can see in the tongue, bitter part is here and the sour is experienced in the sideways of the tongue, and tip of the tongue is mainly sweet, and salty is around the corner of the tongue. Now, coming to the hearing and balance, you need to know each part what is it responsible for. So the ear has outer ear, middle ear and inner ear, three portions. So in the outer ear it has this ear canal and half of the ear canal, and you know the pinnae, which is the outer ear, which what you can touch, and the middle ear mainly has the canal of ear, which is the ear canal, leads to the tympanum, which is present in the uh, outer ear. Then the middle ear is mainly consist of your malleus, incus and stapes, which is the three bones present here. And this is mainly like how sound when you hear something, the sound waves travel to the tympanum, hit into the tympanum, so the tympanum will vibrate and that vibration will be transferred to each of the bones here, which is the malleus, incus and stapes. So this vibration will be transferred to the last one and it will be transferred to the semicircular canals, which is present in the inner ear. So semicircular canals will mainly responsible for the balance, because the fluid present inside the semicircular canals may probably gives the give your balance, your signaling on the posture, like how you can balance the head with the posture and all. Next, you have auditory nerve. So remember the keyword auditory. So you in the smell it was olfactory, whereas it in ear it is auditory nerve. So the receptors here it is auditory nerve, and the auditory nerve will send signals to the brain. So then you have cochlea, a snail-like structure, and it is filled with fluid and lined with tiny hair cells, and these hair cells responds by generating nerve impulses. So when it is transferred from the semicircular canals, the fluid filled in the cochlea, which has hair cells, will slowly transmit the signals to the auditory nerve, which will be sent back to the brain. This is how the ear works. You can expect 3 questions from this page. So make sure you know every single part of the senses and what is the receptor present in there and how does it work. The working principle, as I said, it's the same in all of the sense organs, but you need to know which nervous receptors are present in it. Then coming to the question, so you can see what are the sensory receptors that detect your body's position and motion, and that's, you can see here the options. And then ear transmit information about body position and balance to the brain, which is the semicircular canals. Coming next to the sense of sight, which is page number 169, you can expect again 3 questions. So how the light enters into the light, and how does it figure out the image. So here you need to know the structure of the eye and parts of it, each part, where is it. So you might get a questions like which part is what, and you need to figure it out. So then how the image is formed, and probably one in the retina you find 2 types of cells, which is rod cells and cone cells. When rods are light sensitive cells, and cones functioning information about the color to the brain. So to remember the rods and cones, you need to remember the CO, cones, and colors, CO. So when you can connect that in like each other, which is colors, cones, and the rods. The rods are mainly located, rods and cones are mainly located in the retina, and these both will serve as like for the light sensitive and for also color. Then you can see how the light travels through. First it enters the cornea and pupil, and it will lead to the lens. Then the lens bends the light, refracts the light from the inverted image and focuses the image on the retina. And as I explained, retina has rod cells and cone cells, which will detect the light and the colors. But the image in the retina is always inverted. To see it upright, it is responsible mainly by optic nerve, which is the nerve present here. So in the sight it is optic, in the ears it is auditory, in the smell it is olfactory, and the taste buds. So you have to remember each part of it, each part receptors present in it, and how it works and what part is what. So these are some sample questions about the eyes. So you need, then coming to the next, which is the touch. So the touch, you know that there are different receptors for cold, heat, and pressure, pain. So you need to know which one is which, and you need to know which is responsible for what receptors. Like for the cold, you know this structure is mainly for the cold, and this for the light touch, this for the heavy pressure, and receptors will detect the heat, because they will give images, and you need to find out which one is which is the receptor that detects heat. So you can see that it's D, and then you know the answer. So you need to know the structure of each of the sensory receptors present in the touch. Coming to the reflex arc, as I discussed earlier, reflex arc is mainly involved by spinal cord, not by the brain, because without even thinking, you act, you respond to that particular situation. That's a reflex. So as you see, there are 3 types of neurons, which is sensory neuron, interneuron, and motor neuron. So sensory neurons will detect the information from the outside, the stimulus, which is the heat here, and will send signals to the spinal cord. And inside the spinal cord you will find interneurons, and interneurons job is taking the sensory information from it and giving to that, transferring it into the motor neuron. The motor neuron go and make the hand move from it. So this is how the reflex works. Same way here, you can see it is reflex, like when sensory neurons, motor neuron, and interneuron, this one will go and act immediately, and it's very fast and involuntary response. It will help the body to respond in danger and faster than it could be the signal was processed by the brain. These are some of the questions, like the correct path that a nerve impulse is will follow in a reflex arc. You can follow the name SIM, which is this like SIM card. So SIM is sensory, inter and motor. So this is the correct way to transfer of information from the receptors. Then these are another examples. Coming back to the next page 158, you might expect two questions in it. They are mainly the action potential. So you know, to know 2 potassium ions will be going in and 3 sodium ions will be going out, and the resting neuron, the structure of the resting potential is like all negative inside and all positive will be outside. So when you see some images with positive inside and negative outside, that means action potential is happening, like 3 sodium is going out and 2 potassium ions are going inside. So some questions, what is occurring in the diagram above? So Na are entering the neuron, and here what is the result of an action of the sodium potassium pump? It is negative charge inside a neuron. Then next is page 149, figure 7. Figure 7, it's about the structure of the bone. Bone is mainly made with the spongy bone and compact bone, and you need to know the structure of the spongy bone and compact bone. And what are the bone cells? Mainly you have osteoblast, osteoclast. It is the bone forming cells and bone killing cells. So the process of formation of bone is called ossification, which is done by the osteoblasts here. So you know the structure of the bone also need to be remembered. That is, the outermost one is the periosteum cover. Then you have compact bone, spongy bone, and the bone marrows. And this system is Haversian system, which includes the blood vessels, and each of the unit is called as osteon. So you need to know each of these bones' function and features. And coming to page number 167, which is the organization of the nervous system, central nervous system and peripheral nervous system. So you know central nervous system consists of brain, spinal cord and interneurons, whereas the peripheral nervous system consists all of the sensory neurons and motor neurons. And the peripheral nervous system is divided into somatic and autonomic nervous system. Somatic nervous system is mainly responsible for all your voluntary actions, like for the skeletal muscles, to the skin and the skeletal muscles, like movement. It's mainly how you can control it. So that's the somatic nervous system, where autonomic nervous system is you cannot control it, which is the involuntary actions. So autonomic stands for the auto, which is the automatic one. You do not have to do it. The body automatically do that one. So that is autonomic nervous system. It relays information to the internal organs. Okay, so that's autonomic nervous system. Again, autonomic nervous system is divided into sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. So sympathetic is mainly controls the organs in the time of stress. In order to remember sympathetic, you can remember with the stress, S, both S. So sympathetic and stress is mainly responsible for the stress, how to control in during the stressful situation. That's done by sympathetic nervous system, whereas parasympathetic is when the body is at rest. So controls organ when the body is at rest is parasympathetic nervous system. So these are some of the pupil dilation, pupil constriction by eye during the sympathetic stimulation. The heart during the stressful situation, the heart rate and force will be increased, whereas it is decreased in the parasympathetic nervous system. Same like that for other organs as well. So you need to know which one is which one is responsible during the stress situation and at rest situation. So that's it. This is about the EOT for 10 general. I hope you understood the lesson. good luck for the exam. Please read the question properly. Don't just respond quickly. Even if you know the answer, read it again and again, because some words can find it, like you will ignore it, which can completely lose your marks. So make sure you don't do that mistake. Read again and again the questions, and good luck for the exam. Focus on the keywords and the images, what is what, and what is the working principle. So when you do these kind, like these small things, if you consider it, it can lead to success. Thank you and have a nice day.